meeting of the reorganization meeting of Laurel Highlands School District order. This is Bill call roll.
Mrs. Ford. Present. Mrs. DeAndrea. Here. Mrs. Glad. Here. Mrs. Kalich. Here. Mr. Landman.
Here.
Mr. Raymond.
Here.
Mrs. Santor. Present. Mr. Suffolk, and I'm present. All board members are present.
Although this time I'd like to call silent meditation and salute the flag. Mr. Landman.
Yes, if we could, in a moment of silence, because we remember David Rusco and his family. This time, David had just a horrible accident at West Virginia a couple weeks ago, and let's continue to remember him and his family in our prayers at this time.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to have a motion to adjourn the 2018 Board of School Directors.
Make a motion.
Second.
Question on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Election of a temporary chairman for the election of officers.
I'll make a motion for Gary Frankhauser.
I'll second it.
Question on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
The temporary chairman will accept a motion for the permanent president for the ensuing calendar year.
I'll make a motion for Mr. Suffolk
I'll second.
for president.
Motion properly made and seconded. Question on the motion. Roll call.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalich?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mrs. Sports?
Yes.
Mr. Lamon?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Abstain, please.
8 yeas, 1 abstention.
Temporary chairman will accept a motion for the permanent vice president for the ensuing year.
I'll make a motion for Deborah Bortz for vice president. Second.
Motion properly made and seconded. Question on the motion. Roll call.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mrs. Sports?
I abstain.
Mr. Lamon?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalich?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 abstention.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Item 8, appointment of solicitor for the 2019 calendar year.
We have a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Who are you naming?
Gary
Oh,
Frankhauser.
Mr. Frankhauser, okay. Set the retainer at the same amount.
Retainer is $6,500 a year, and the additional work is at $100 per hour.
We have a motion second. Roll call.
Mrs. Sports?
Yes.
Mr. Lamon?
Yes.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalich?
Yes.
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you very much. As always, really appreciate the opportunity to represent my alma mater.
Thank you, Mr. Frankhauser. Number 9, appointment of representatives to the Fayette County Career and Technical Institute. Position is for a 3-year term.
I'll make a motion for Mr. Raymond.
I'll second.
Question on the motion. Roll call.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mrs. Sports?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalich?
Yes.
Mr. Lamon?
Yes.
Mr. Raymond?
Abstain.
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 abstention.
And my term had expired, and I didn't feel that I could take a 1-year term. So congratulations, Mr. Raymond.
Thank you.
We have 3 good representatives out there. I appreciate your service to the school district. Item 10, representative to the Southwest Bureau for a 1-year term, Mr. Lamon. Mr. Lamon's term will expire December 2019. Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalish?
Yes.
Mr. Lamon?
I'll abstain.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Item 11, appointment of alternate representative to the Southwest Tax Bureau for 1-year term. We're nominating Mrs. Sports.
Second.
I'll make a motion to nominate Mrs. Sports.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mr. Lamon?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalish?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Abstain.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 abstention.
Item 12, appointment of 2019 legislative chairperson to serve as the district's contact for the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, governmental relations, and also to serve as official district representative to the PSBA. Mrs. Glad's term has expired.
I'll move for Alicia Sanford.
Now,
No, you're in the wrong one. Nancy.
item 12, that's Mrs. Glad.
Oh, Glad, I'm sorry.
Do we
I'll
have
make a motion to nominate Mrs. Glad.
Second. Second.
a question on the motion? Roll call.
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Raymond?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Abstain.
Mrs. Kalish?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mr. Lamon?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 abstention.
Item 13, appointment of 2019 Legislative Policy Council alternate to serve as the district's contact for the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, governmental relations, and also to serve as official district representative to the PSBA. Mrs. Santor's term has expired.
I'll make a move for Mrs. Sanford.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalish?
Yes.
Mr. Lamon?
Yes.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mrs. Santor?
Abstain.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 abstention.
Excuse me. Item 14, appointment of 2019 representative and alternate representative to the Fayette County Tax Collection Committee. Mr. Raymond and Mrs. Kay's terms have expired.
I'll make a motion to re-elect them.
Second.
Question on the motion, roll call.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalish?
Abstain.
Mr. Lamon?
Yes.
Mr. Raymond?
Abstain.
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
7 yeas, 2 abstentions.
Item 15, set date, time, and place of the regular meetings and work sessions for calendar 2019. No meeting will be scheduled for July. Suggested setting the third Thursday, 6 p.m. at the high school auditorium. Work session to be held the Tuesday immediately prior to the board meeting at 5 p.m. in administrative boardroom. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Question on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Do we have a motion to adjourn the reorganization meeting?
Move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting is adjourned. I'd like to call the meeting of the Laurel Highlands School Board to order, the regular meeting of December 3rd, 2018. All board members are present from the reorganization meeting, so we won't have to do a roll call. Adoption of the agenda, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Question on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Recognition of visitors and guests. Anybody want to make a comment on about the agenda? None at this time. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 15, 2018.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Question on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Approval of the attendance records of committee meetings and work sessions. Curriculum meeting, November 8th, 2018. Work session, December 3rd, 2018. If televised, I can have that listed here. The meeting will be televised will be on December 5th at 5 p.m. on Atlantic Broadband, Channel 17. Also, you can get it on YouTube. Go to South Union Township television on your TV.
Make
Okay?
a motion.
Second.
Question on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Superintendent's report, Dr. Wallace.
I just have one thing, Mr. Suffolk. Just want to make the public aware that Smitty's Grill down on Gallatin Avenue has paid off all the outstanding lunch bills for Clark Elementary School to the tune of about $533. We'd like to thank Smitty's for his commitment to the district and taking care of some of those that may have had a hard time paying those lunch bills. So I'd like for everyone to give Smitty's a round of applause. That concludes my report, Mr. Suffolk.
Strategic Plan and Board Policy Committee, Mrs. DeAndrea.
I have no report at this time, Mr.
Thank you, Mrs. DeAndrea. Curriculum Committee, Mrs. Santor.
Nothing at this time.
Buildings and Grounds Committee, Mrs. Bortz.
The only thing is, Dr. Wallace will explain the percentage on Eccles. Excuse me?
Yes. Okay. First thing, in negotiations with Eccles Engineering on the roof, on the middle school air conditioning, we were not in agreement with the fee structure. That has been restructured to take 0.5% off, which is going to save the district roughly about the neighborhood of $20,000, somewhere in there. On the roof for Clark, we have met with Garland, and we are in the process now of going through the scheduling and making sure that we get a jump on this project as soon as possible, and make sure that we save as much cost as we can when we start putting the roof on to Clark.
Thank you very much. That's all I
Yes,
have.
ma'am.
Does that conclude your report, Mrs.
That
Bortz?
concludes my report. Thank you.
Finance, Budget, and Taxation Committee, Mr. Raymond.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Just one item, F1A, permission for administration to pay the regular bills, cafeteria bills, and federal bills in December. These bills will then be presented in January at the regular board meeting. I'd like to put that into a form of a motion.
Second.
Question on the motion, roll call.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mrs. Bortz?
Yes.
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalish?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mr. Lehman?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
9 yeas.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Food Service Committee, Mrs. Glad.
I have nothing to report this time.
Thank you. Security Transportation Committee, Mrs. Beal.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Human Resources Committee, Mrs. Kalich.
Personnel and Labor Relations, P1A, approve additional substitute teachers, Exhibit A regular certified substitutes, and B, emergency certified substitutes. I'd like to put that into the form of a motion.
Second.
Question on the motion, roll call.
Mrs. Kalish?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Bortz?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mr. Lehman?
Yes.
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
9 yeas.
P2A, accept the retirement of Mrs. Shirley Santor, Assistant Payroll, effective September 30th, 2019. Mrs. Santor has 30 years of dedicated service with the district. Mrs. Santor will be using accumulated vacation, sick, and personal days beginning January 2, 2019 until her retirement effective date. I'd like to put that into a form of a motion.
Second.
Question on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to congratulate Ms. Santor on 30 years of service to the district. She did an excellent job.
P3A, accept the retirement of Mr. Robert Fitzpatrick, 2.5-month custodian at the middle school, 7A to 3P shift, effective December 8, 2018. Mr. Fitzpatrick has 30 years of dedicated service to the district. I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Question on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Once again, I'd like to thank Mr. Fitzpatrick for the 30 years of service from him also.
And that ends my report, Mr. Suffolk.
Thank you, Mrs. Kalich. Athletic and Extracurricular Activities Committee, Mr. Lampman.
Thank you, Mr. Sepik. Under AE1, approved spring sports bids. I'd like to put that in the form of a motion. However, on your handout, there's a total of $11,583 for the high school sports bids, and that includes softball, baseball, and track. And in the middle school, softball and baseball in total for the middle school, $397, which brings the total spring sports bids to $12,604.30. I'd like to put that in front of a motion at this time.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Mr. Lamon?
Yes?
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalich?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mrs. Bortz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Under AE2, approve the National Academy Foundation's trip to Boston, Massachusetts, April 25th to the 27th, 2019. This is at no cost to the district other than the substitutes to cover chaperones who will be going on this trip. I'd like to put that in form of a motion.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Mr. Lamon?
Yes?
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalich?
Yes.
Mrs. Bortz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Mr. Civic, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Lampman. Legal advisement, Mr. Frankowski.
Under grievances, as explained in executive session, we do have one grievance with the LHEA that will be moving to arbitration. We will keep you advised as to the progress of that matter. Under the solicitor's report, the bond issue will be closing on the 11th of this month, it appearing that the conditions are optimal for the best benefit of the district. And we also have several items that we are monitoring and moving towards objecting to as far as appeals to tax assessments within the district to some businesses within the district, and we will also keep you abreast of that circumstance. Thank you. L3, this is oppose the House Resolution number 291. This resolution opposes any changes to the collection of local earned income taxes in the Commonwealth. The resolution itself would remove the local control over those collections and move it to the state level, which in our opinion would be something that would result in a less favorable collection of the local earned income taxes. So we are recommending that we oppose that resolution.
Do we have a motion to oppose the resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mrs. Glad?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mrs. Bortz?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalich?
Yes.
Mrs. Santor?
Yes.
Mr. Lamon?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Mr. Suffolk?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you.
General Matters, Korean Technical Institute report, Mrs. Beal or Mrs. DeAndrea?
I just would like to add one comment. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Sepik, for all your time served with CTI. It is such a valuable school, and your input is surely going to be missed. So thank you very much for all your partnership with being on that board.
Thank you very much, Mrs. DeAndrea. Any other comments? Congratulations, Mr. Raymond.
And Mr. Raymond.
I believe you'll be the president out there.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
For information, we do have negotiations Wednesday, the 5th, with the few individuals that are now members of the SEI union. So that's Wednesday, the 5th at 3 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. Intermediate end report, we have none. Other business, public comment, any public person? No public comment, thank you very much. Adjournment, we have a
I'll make a
motion.
motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.